we are going to be rereading Throne of Glass together.
He just sucks so bad. I really don't like him.
Do I sound ridiculous just trying to like make excuses for Rolf?
There's no way that that's a coincidence.
Hey guys, Holly J here, aka Planet Ginger, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I am an aspiring author who loves to read, write, travel, and go to Disney. Today we are going to talk about Throne of Glass. This is going to be a series in itself. In the long scheme of this project, I kind of want to do a reread of all of Throne of Glass and then dive into a reread of all the ACOTAR books, then do a reread of all the Crescent City books. So that is my goal, that is my plan, and I want to take you guys along with me. If you have not read Throne of Glass in its entirety, I probably would not watch these videos. I will be talking very in-depthly about what's going on in these books, and there will be spoilers. Not only am I going to be talking about specific points from these actual books that I'm reading, but I very well may be talking about spoilers in the upcoming books. In this reread, I really wanted to go back and start off with the Assassin's Blade and then dive into Throne of Glass and then the rest of the series. When I dove straight into reading Throne of Glass, I actually was not a huge fan of Selena. She had like this chip on her shoulder and I didn't understand why. At the time, I just could not understand her character. And I think if I would have started with the Assassin's Blade, I would have already had this background knowledge and I would have liked her a lot more going into the actual first book of Throne of Glass. I don't know, I'm kind of an advocate for reading the Assassin's Blade first. I definitely would not read it in the order that I did, which is after Heir of Fire. I am excited to pick up on all the things that I didn't pick up the first round because honestly, after talking to my sister and mom since they were reading it, there were so many things that came up that I was like, I don't even remember that happening, or I don't even remember that character, and I really thoroughly need a reread. I'm probably going to be switching back and forth between my physical copy and my Kindle. I have been kind of a Kindle girly lately. I've just been kind of doing a lot of reading in bed, so it's just nicer for me to like lay in bed and read my Kindle than it is lugging this big book around. But I do want to spend the time to highlight and look at the quotes and the connections that I find in all these. So I do want to use the highlight feature, and I just find it a little bit easier on the Kindle. Without further ado, I think we're just gonna dive in and I will keep you guys updated with any thoughts, feelings, and reactions that I have while doing this reread. So let's just get into it.
Okay, so I wanted to get on here and do a little update with you guys on my progress of the Assassin's Blade. So I did just finish The Assassin and the Pirate Lord, and I wanted to talk about some things because, wow, I feel really dumb rereading this because the amount of things I did not remember in this series is like actually crazy. So can we just start off with like the very beginning? Ben, the death of Ben. I was like, who is this Ben guy? I like don't even remember him. I don't even know why he died. Like, what the heck does he have to do with literally anything? He's kind of the catalyst for actually every single thing that happens in Throne of Glass, which is kind of crazy. So he is the whole reason why, like, let me just get my bearings together so that I can talk about this more in depthly. Ben, basically, if you don't remember, like I didn't remember, or if you need a refresher, Ben was Arobin Hamel's second in command. So he dies, and Selena's like real mad about it. Like, she's like, because I guess Ben was like one of like the main figureheads of her growing up in the Assassins Guild. He was almost kind of like a father figure. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. Like, they're having basically a big meeting with all the assassins, like talking about Ben's death. And Selena and Sam are like not getting along. But I could always tell that like Sam had some sort of feelings for Selena, but Selena's just like, she just thinks like Sam literally hates her. She's just like, screw this guy, like, you know, whatever. She's just so savage. I mean, I like aspire to be like Selena / Aelin. One of my favorite quotes from that was, just so you know, she said, speaking to all of them, but still watching Sam, I'm going to retrieve Ben's body, a muscle feathered in Sam's jaw, though he wisely kept his eyes averted. But don't expect me to extend the same courtesy to the rest of you when your time comes. She is just like so funny. This is what I'm saying during this reread. I've already mentioned this in like the beginning of this video, but I was not a Selena fan at first. I just didn't understand her. I didn't get her. And like doing this reread, I feel like there's so many like little things that happen that I was like, that is just so funny and so Aelin coded. And I'm so glad doing this reread that I'm having this different perspective, because obviously I already know what happens. I already have a relationship with Aelin. So I already get her now. And going back and rereading all this, I'm just like, wow, I feel like I just missed so much of like her attitude and her little puns and her little snarky comments because I didn't get her. Knowing her full story now and how much trauma she's went through and how many people have died in her life and how much grief she's had to go through, and she's just had to like kind of move past it. It like hits different because you're like, damn, this girl really had a rough go of it. Like, she really had a rough freaking time. And then, of course, knowing what happens to Sam at the end of this book, I'm just kind of like, this was the quote I was trying to find because I knew I had highlighted it somewhere. So going back to what I was talking about Ben being such a major part in this story, I knew Sam and Selena had talked about it, like about why they even went to Skulls Bay in the first place to negotiate with Rolf and try to get this stuff from Rolf, and then they end up freeing slaves in the process. Here is the exact quote that I highlighted where Sam kind of brings up why he thinks that they're actually in Skulls Bay. Sam's speaking and he says, perhaps Arabin wanted us out of Rifthold right now, needed to get us out of the city for a month. A chill went through her. Arabin wouldn't do that, wouldn't he? Sam asked. Did we ever find out why Ben was there the night Grigori got captured? If you're implying that Arabin somehow set Ben up to, and then she gets cut off. I'm not implying anything, but some things don't add up, and there are questions that haven't been answered. So Sam obviously is starting to put two and two together about Arabin's true intentions and why he wanted two of his best assassins out of the city for him to potentially be doing other things that he maybe doesn't want them knowing he's doing. That was just kind of a thing in the beginning that I realized I didn't pick up on, is the impact that Ben actually had in this series, because I did not even remember he was a character. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This actually was one of my, I don't know if I'd say favorite, but it's one of the short stories in the Assassin's Blade that really kept in my mind is The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. Like, I don't know if it's because there's the most action kind of that happens in it or what, but it was one of the short stories that I gravitated towards. We also get Rolf in this story, and Rolf is just Rolf. I don't know. Like, when I first read this, I thought he was such a villain. Like, I villainized him so much. I was just like, he's just like a bad dude. Like, I just don't like him. He's just arrogant. He's just doing all this shady stuff. But to be honest with you, like, he really doesn't, he's just like doing his job kind of, and he's just doing all this to make money, and he just like doesn't really know or doesn't really care what's happening. He's not the worst of the worst. He's not, I don't know, like reading this I was just like, he is not the villain. Like, the only reason why he's even mad is because Selena like screwed him out of a bunch of money. That's literally the only reason why he's like butthurt. And basically she like bested him. I think that bothered him more than anything, is that Selena bested him. I just think he's just out for himself at the end of the day. He's not really malicious. I don't know. Do I sound ridiculous just trying to like make excuses for Rolf? Moving on from Rolf. Another thing I just really enjoyed in The Assassin and the Pirate Lord is watching Sam and Selena interact. It's so sweet. Sam really, like, he's like, you know, we're in this together. We're gonna free these slaves. We're gonna be doing it together. Like, I will help you. I'm game. She was kind of trying to hide it from him at first, like her plan and stuff, but then he's like, nope, I want to be a part of it. Like, I need to know. That just shows you from the beginning, he was just very supportive of her. The first read through for me, I was not a Sam Cortland fan. Even just reading The Assassin and the Pirate Lord, I was just like, oh, I don't know. You just really feel bad for him. You watch this relationship flourish with them and you're just like, oh man, this is gonna suck when he dies. It's just gonna hit so much different on this reread than it did originally. I think I'm gonna be a lot more emotionally affected reading about his death this time around than I was the first time. One thing that was kind of cool is now that I'm more aware of how the continent is structured, all these name drops of places and locations, like I can actually associate in my brain now. On any original read through of any fantasy series, I feel like you're wading through mud until it just finally clicks. And then you're like, oh, okay, I get where they're talking about now. So it says Aderlin had only started capturing and selling slaves 2 years ago, most of them prisoners of war from whatever territories dared rebel against their conquests. So again, you know, we're seeing how much Aderlin is like a powerhouse in this realm. Many of them were from Elway, which we all know Elway. If I'm pronouncing any of these names wrong, I'm sorry, I didn't listen to the audiobook of this. I don't know how to pronounce some of these names. I'm doing my best, so please don't roast me in the comments about it. If you do, whatever, but I'm doing my best. This is how I pronounce them, so bear with me. Many of them were from Elway, but there were still prisoners from Melisande and Fenharrow, or the isolated tribe in the White Fang Mountains. Melisande, this is gonna connect more when I do the reread, but I know Melisande and Fenharrow. I've heard of those locations before, but I cannot for the life of me tell you why they're relevant. So that'll be important down the road, I'm sure. The White Fang Mountains, I just remember those are like the savages, but I don't really remember anyone specific being from there. So anyways, the majority of slaves went to Calacula or Endavir. We all know about Endavir, the continent's largest and most notorious labor camps, to mine for salt and precious metals. But more and more slaves were making their way into the households of Aderland's nobility. I feel like I highlighted that because it was name dropping a lot of locations and like how they're connected to the slave trade, which I thought was really interesting. Rolf's map that's tattooed on his arm, I completely forgot about that and its relevancy. So I was like, oh, gotta highlight that. I don't know. You just pick up so much more going back and seeing all this. So I did want to bring this up too, because I highlighted this for a specific reason and I wanted to talk about it for a second. One thing I thought was really interesting that Rolf says, and this, again, this could be totally innocent and this could just be him commenting on like her age and like not knowing what she looked like, but I just thought that this was a really weird part and I just want to share it with you guys. So please tell me how you thought about this section. But the quote goes, quick as a whip, she did the only thing she could think of to distract him. Rolf was coming after Selena and Sam when they were leaving this like club bar thing because he catches on that they're like up to something. So to distract him so Sam could get away, this is what she does. So her mask clattered to the ground and she shook off her hood. Her golden hair gleamed in the growing light. Rolf froze. What sort of trickery is this? I don't know. That reaction to me, I mean, yes, it could just simply be like he didn't realize she was so young. But to me, it almost seems like he like actually recognizes her. And then the quote continues and it says, beyond them, the oars began moving, churning the water as the boats turned toward the chain and the freedom beyond it. Go, she murmured to Sam now. Sam only nodded before he sprinted down the street. Alone with Rolf, Selena raised her sword. Selena Sardothian, at your service. She like verifies her name and stuff, obviously. And he never makes another comment about it. But I don't know, that reaction of like what sort of trickery is this? It seemed more to me than just him like thinking, oh my gosh, you're young, which supposedly is why she keeps her identity a secret, so that she's taken more seriously by these people and she's more feared because people don't really know what she looks like. I don't know. It could be a totally innocent reaction that I'm overthinking, but I just thought it was just kind of, I don't know, a weird interaction for sure. There's just so many great quotes coming from the end of them freeing these slaves and feeling so good about themselves and stuff. It's just a really sweet story. I think the reason why it's one of my favorites in the Assassin's Blade is, for one thing, I just kind of like pirate lore and pirate energy in books. So I thought that was kind of fun. But also it's just so sweet, like seeing her and Sam work together and free these slaves. The Assassin and the Pirate Lord is now done. So we are going to be diving into the Assassin and the Healer next. All right, I think it's time for another update. Let's talk about the Assassin and the Healer and the Assassin and the Desert. The Assassin and the Healer, just such a cute little story. The reason why that story also touches my heart, because not even just the empowerment of just like standing up for yourself and like being able to fight back, it's also about like full circle moment of something kind that she is doing. You know, Selena's like in this in the White Peg, I think it is. It's just a quick pit stop along her way that she's really not even giving that much thought to. And she sees this barmaid like kind of being harassed all the time, and she's just like, oh girl, like what are you doing with your life? Like you need to stand up, you need to take initiative, you need to like, you know, not give up on yourself. It's just really sweet because I think that that's what Irene needed at that time. I think she was kind of getting frustrated with her life, and just from Selena taking like one night out of her life to train Irene and to give her some gold and just be like, go do your thing, that obviously has a trickle effect throughout the series. And I just think that that's so well written by Sarah J. Maas to have these random, seemingly insignificant characters play a major role later on in the series. That is how I would like my books to be when I finally finish writing mine. I actually vividly remember reading Tower of Dawn. I was like, Irene, and I was like, I feel like I've seen this name before. I literally had to go take out the Assassin's Blade because I was like, I feel like she was the healer. Because then she starts talking to Kale, of course, in Tower of Dawn about how, yeah, there was this like woman I met and she taught me how to defend myself, and like, you know, if I ever find her again, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they have to meet. It's just a really special moment. There is a quote here where Irene's talking about how her parents died and how she ended up the way she is. So it says, Irene had been only 11 when those soldiers burned her mother for her magic. For the first 6.5 years after the horrors of that day, she'd lived with her mother's cousin in another village in Fenharrow, pretending to be an absolutely ungifted distant relative. It wasn't a hard disguise to maintain. Her powers truly had vanished. So she also used to be extremely powerful in healing magic, just as Aelin was extremely powerful in her magic. But then her parents died, and I think it's interesting how the soldiers burned her mother for her magic, which is just kind of like, I don't know, anything associated with fire I associate with Aelin. I think it further shows the connection between just their history. The Assassin and the Healer, I didn't really have too much to say about that one, besides the fact that I just like do enjoy that story. I think it's really sweet and cute and to the point. It's not super drawn out. Then we have the Assassin and the Desert. When I initially read The Assassin in the Desert, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I wasn't a huge fan of that story, mostly because I really didn't like Ainsel. I almost hated in Kingdom of Ash when she ended up coming back and like helping them. I was kind of like, ugh, get this girl away, because she just seemed so cocky and just full of herself and just kind of, I don't know, she just seemed so ungrateful. And it wasn't until I reread The Assassin in the Desert that I actually am kind of understanding her and Selena's relationship a bit more. I also didn't fully realize how much this was Selena's first real female relationship, where she was like, she really thought of a female as a friend, and they completely backstabbed her and manipulated her and lied to her. That in itself is one of the reasons why I think reading The Assassin's Blade will help you get a better understanding of Selena's character in Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, because I think if I would have saw all of these details before going into Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, I think I would have thought differently about Selena's character. As somebody myself who struggles with female friendships, female relationships, and feel misunderstood by females a lot, I really resonated with this specific story more than I did the first round, because it just really made me realize when you're in your formative years and you're creating those bonds with friends where you like really trust them, and then for them to do things that just you feel manipulated, you feel used, you feel backstabbed, it really does affect how you treat people and how you interact with other people later on. And that's what we see with Selena is like, you know, her distrust in females because of Ansel and because of the way other females have treated her her entire life. It just really makes her have a very pessimistic view of female friendships and female relationships. I don't know. I just did not understand when I originally read it how pivotal Ansel and Selena's relationship was to her as a person. And it was like her first glimmer of just like having fun with friends. Like, I love this scene. They just stole the Assyrian horses and they are like flying through the desert. And there's this really beautiful moment of all the girls in all the world. Here she was on a spit of beach in the red desert, astride an Assyrian horse, racing faster than the wind. Most would never experience this. She would never experience anything like this again. And for that one heartbeat, when there was nothing more to it than that, she tasted bliss so complete that she tipped her head back to the sky and laughed. We don't get moments like that with Aelin/Selena very often, where she just is like actually just genuinely enjoying the moment. Another super important thing that I completely forgot was even like started in the Assassin's Blade. The spider silk gets brought up here. She's basically in this like little like flea market almost, and one of the sellers is selling spider silk. So she further goes into an explanation of that. Spider silk. There were legends about the horse-sized Stygian spiders that lurked in the woods of the Rune Mountains of the north, spinning their thread for hefty costs. Also, can we just take a minute? Why are they called the Rune Mountains? Why are they called the Rune Mountains? Why is it spelled the exact same way as Rune, but with an extra N? Why are they called the Rune Mountains? How did they get their name? That's what I want to know. I caught this in my first read of Throne of Glass because I actually read the first 2 books of Crescent City before I read Throne of Glass. So I already knew who Rune was. That popped out to me right away. I was like, excuse me, but no, there's no way that that's a coincidence. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe she just randomly used that name. I don't think so. I feel like there's a connection there. Some said they offered it in exchange for human flesh. Others claimed the spiders dealt in years and dreams and could take either as payment. Regardless, it was as delicate as gossamer, lovelier than silk, and stronger than steel. And she'd never seen so much of it before. It was so rare that if you wanted it, odds were you had to go and get it for yourself. But there it was, yards of raw material waiting to be shaped. It was a kingdom's ransom. Then, later on in the conversation, they bring up some more stuff. So the guy goes, everything has a price. He said 20 years for 100 yards of spider silk. I thought they meant to take them off the end of my life, but even if they'd warned me, I would have said yes. She eyed the caravan behind him. This much spider silk was enough to enable him to live what years he had left as a very, very wealthy man. Why not take it to Rifthold? Because I've seen Rifthold and Orinth and Benjali. I'd like to see what 100 yards of spider silk might fetch me outside of Adarlan's empire. Is there anything to be done about the years you lost? He waved a hand. I followed the western side of the mountains on my way here and met an old witch along the way. I asked if she could fix me, but she said what was taken, and only the death of the spider who consumed my 20 years could return them to me. He examined his hands, already lined with age. For a copper more, she told me that only a great warrior could slay a Stygian spider, the greatest warrior in the land, though perhaps an assassin from the north might do. So obviously, Selena's kind of taken off guard by that because she's like, oh, how'd you know I'm an assassin from the north? I think the bigger conversation here is about how this guy is going to connect later on in the series and how the spider silk is going to not only help Selena, but it's going to help Manon. Sorry, I do call her Manon. I don't call her Manon. Never going to call her Manon. We'll get over that hump. There's so many little details in here that do play into things down the road. Another naming situation that I have found in this specific novella, Asterion. The Asterion horses, the Asteri from Crescent City. I don't know. Those are very, very, very close names. How do they describe the horses? It's an Asterion horse, Ainsel breathed, her red-brown eyes growing huge. Oh, Selena's explaining it, sorry. The horse was black as pitch. Black as pitch? That's kind of a weird... I didn't realize that it said that. With dark eyes that bored into Selena's own. She'd heard of Asterion horses, of course. The most ancient breed of horse in Aurelia. Legend claimed that the Fae had made them from the four winds. Spirit from the north, strength from the south, speed from the east, and wisdom from the west. All rolled into the slender-snouted, high-tailed, lovely creature that stood before her. So I don't know. I mean, it does say that the Fae had made them. I'm not sure. I don't know the connection, but I just feel like that's a connection. The Asteri and Asterion horses, I mean, that's just way too similar of names for me. And these horses are supposedly like the best of the best, like crazy, like everyone wants an Asterion horse or stallion. So that's like kind of my gist and kind of my thoughts on this section. If I have more thoughts down the road about the Assassin in the Desert, I will let you know. The only other thing I will say is the next two books, which what are they even called? Do we even know? I don't know. I think one of them is The Assassin in the Underworld. Yeah, The Assassin in the Underworld is next, and then The Assassin in the Empire. Let's talk about the ending of The Assassin's Blade. So I just finished it, and I can tell you right now that I was correct earlier in that Sam's death definitely did hit harder the second time I read this. First thing I want to say, which this is going to make me sound so stupid again, but I did not realize the scene where she is at that, it's kind of like a masquerade, because I think they go in masks. She like runs into this guy and he's kind of flirting with her, and then Sam gets upset. That was Dorian. I feel so stupid because I did not pick up on that my first read through, but that was obviously Dorian and Kale coming in. So Dorian has met Sam. I could not believe I missed that. For some reason, in my head, I felt like in The Assassin's Blade, we got told about Selena and Dorian and Adian all meeting when they were young. I don't know why I thought that was in The Assassin's Blade, but clearly it was not. The Assassin in the Underworld is basically about like Selena coming back from the Red Desert, her and Sam like trying to live their life. And then the reason why Sam dies is because obviously they make a deal to try and use their assassin skills to take this person out, and then they would give them a lump sum of money, enough money that they think that they can go to the southern continent and kind of restart their life. So that's their whole plan. And it was kind of Sam's idea, and Selena kind of thought it didn't sound all that great. She eventually just is like, yeah, let's do this. Obviously that ends up in Sam dying. At least I believe that's the Underworld. Maybe I'm kind of going into The Assassin and the Empire too. I think I am going a little bit into The Assassin and the Empire, because I think The Assassin and the Empire is actually them like going about their business and taking these people out, and then obviously Sam dies, and then Selena gets sent to Endovir, and that's how the book ends. Can we just talk about Selena laying on the table with Sam's body? Terrible. Still didn't cry. I didn't cry on this read through. Obviously I knew it was going to happen. I think it's so interesting the conversation that Arobynn has with, was it Farron? Yeah, it is Farron. So Farron and Arobynn are talking as they're watching Selena getting taken to Endovir. And that really put in perspective the whole scenario and just how everything was so connected. And it was all so strategically done by Arobynn Hamel. It's so ridiculous. Well, first of all,
Farron straight up asks Arabin, he goes, "You and your men could free her in a matter of moments. Attacking a prison wagon is far safer than what you had originally planned, though I'll admit sending her to Endovier is far more interesting." And then Arabin says, "If I wanted your opinion, Farron, I would have asked for it." And then Farron says, "You might want to consider how you speak to me now." And then Arabin says, "And you might want to consider who gave you your crown." So obviously there's some tension between them because Farron is now this like bigwig crime lord because he basically used, well, it was all Arabin's plan, but he basically used Selena and Sam's to kill off his superior so that he could take over. It's just all connected. I don't want to get too long-winded into this explanation. This video is already going to be long enough with how much I've been rambling about this book, and there's just so much to cover that it's just hard to fit it all into one video. I think my biggest takeaways from this ending section is just the Doreen and Kale scene. I was like mind blown about, and I feel stupid because I know everyone always said that they were mentioned in the Assassin's Blade, and for some reason in my brain I just always thought that that was the when they were kids part. I completely forgot that's not even mentioned in here. So the whole just logistics of how Sam's death came around and how it was so orchestrated, and like Arabin is so bad. Like he's so bad. Like I always hated his character, always hated him. But oh my gosh, it just like he just has his hands in everything and he is just so bad. I remember that was one thing that I always was a little frustrated with reading Throne of Glass, specifically the Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and a little bit of Heir of Fire. I always got frustrated with how hyped up the King of Adarlan was, like how scary he supposedly was and all this stuff compared to Arabin Hamel. Like Arabin Hamel is just so much worse than the King of Adarlan in my opinion. And obviously later on down the road, I do understand why people are so fearful of him because he literally has a demon taking over his body. So, I mean, there's that like instinct, I guess, more to be afraid of the King of Adarlan than Arabin. But Arabin is just so bad. He just sucks so bad. Like, I really don't like him. And I think it's because you can kind of understand why Selena has this weird attachment to him. And that's why I don't like him, because he is so manipulative. Even at the end of this, I mean, Selena's kind of like, did he betray me? Did he not? Like, I don't want to think that he did because I just can't even fathom him doing that. I think my last final thought and my closing statement of the Assassin's Blade will be around just how broken Selena is. I really do like Sarah J. Maas and the way that she deals with broken characters, which we'll see how I feel about Heir of Fire when I get to it, but I did think Heir of Fire was a bit drawn out. Now I'm kind of like, am I going to have a different perspective on this read through? Like I have a massively different perspective on the Assassin's Blade now after reading it through. So Heir of Fire, I could have a totally different opinion on. I think I missed a lot on that original read through of the book because I was getting so tired of the training sequences with Selena and Rowan. So we'll see how I feel when we get there. To close this vlog out, our next book we're going to be diving into is obviously going to be the OG Throne of Glass. And I am so excited to be diving into that one. Reading the Assassin's Blade, I've already learned so much more than my first read through, so I can only imagine all the things I'm gonna pick up during Throne of Glass. So thank you so much for watching this video to its full extent if you've made it this far. Please drop this emoji in the comments below. Let me know if I've brought up anything that kind of interested you or other talking points that you want to discuss from this book. I would love to hear them. And if you have any fun theories about the Assassin's Blade and its connection to either Throne of Glass or the entirety of Sarah J. Maas books in general, let me know. I am all about it. We will hopefully see you on the next video. Bye bye.